Hello, I am Cal and welcome. And here we are in the BIOS screen. The computer is booted up. The video quality for the first boot up wasn't there, so I had to cut that, but all I've changed is the speed of the RAM from auto, and I've changed it to the XMP profile, which has automatically selected it to the right speed, which is 3000. And the temperatures look fine, so I've installed the cooler correctly, and it's correctly reading the NVMe drive that I've got installed. And in this video we're not going to delve too much into the BIOS screen regarding updates anyway, because when I checked for updates, because that's what I normally do with a new build, I update the BIOS. When I checked, there's conflicts of interest here, so it's advising us not to update the BIOS if we've got a certain CPU, so I'm not going to be doing that in this video. But I have done this previously, so I'll leave a link in the description for a different build video. It's the same chip but a different motherboard. I will however be updating all the drivers and things, so things for like sound or your internet connection, that sort of thing. I'm going to be downloading the drivers for this and installing them. All you need to do is go to the website for your motherboard and look under the support page, and then it will find links for BIOS and also for the different drivers and things. This being an AMD chip, I am going to be going to the AMD website and downloading their chipset drivers, because logically they will be the most up to date. So for new people here, this is part of a retro gaming build that I'm putting together, where I'll be building a computer from scratch and installing loads of software to play retro games on. So if you're interested in that type of thing, don't forget to like and subscribe. And look, we're going back to March with this build. So now that we know this is all up and running, we can install Windows on it using that USB stick that I created in the previous video. If you want to learn how to do that, I'll leave a link in the description for that video. So I'm just going to put the USB stick in and then go to the exit tab and then select save changes and exit. And then when it reboots, it will automatically pick up on the USB stick because it tries to look for bootable media. And there we are, it's picked up the USB stick with the Windows 10 installation media on it. Really, with Windows 10 it's fairly simple to install, you just need to choose the right selections. I have done a video on this before, so I won't really go through all the instructions again with you. What I am going to do on here is select Windows 10 Pro, and also I'm not going to connect this to the internet yet. What I want to do is install all the drivers that I've got myself and install those before I even connect it to the internet. Otherwise Windows 10 will decide for me which drivers to install, and I want to decide myself. However, if you do want me to go through this sequence with Windows 10, let me know in the comments and I'll make the video especially for you. Oops, show me age there a bit. With Windows 10 though, what I like to do is create a alternative account, which is just for administration purposes, and then create a separate account just for me and anybody else that wants to use the computer, but not allow administration rights to these other accounts, so that when somebody tries to install things on your computer, they need a password to do it. Same goes with if you click a link on a website by accident and it tries to install software, it won't be able to unless it's really sophisticated. So it's displaying the desktop for the first time, and you can see it's very basic. You can see by the size of the icons here, and that's because it hasn't got all the drivers installed for this CPU with its integrated graphics. As I said, this isn't connected to the internet, and if it was, then Windows 10 would automatically try and look for these drivers and things to install, and I don't want it to do that. I've downloaded the drivers that I need, I've put them on a USB stick and I'm going to run them from the USB stick. And if you're wondering which drivers to install, you have to decide on which ones that you want to do for your equipment that you've got. And here's a list of the drivers that I'll be installing. Looks more than what there is because some of them have already been decompressed into their own folders. And I'll leave a link in the description to a previous video of where I've done this before. So what I'm going to do now is just go into the Windows and create a separate account for me, but not grant me administration rights. And doesn't it look better now all the drivers are installed? Right, now that's been set up, what I'm going to do is connect it to the internet using this account and then check on Windows and see whether there's some updates. No doubt there will be several, with booting and rebooting until it's all done. And now let's get to installing the 3 terabyte drive that we've bought Yeah, it's all crinkly. I'll unpack it. What we've got to do is find a power lead and also a SATA data cable, which will be in the motherboard box. I believe there's 2 in there. So with the drives then, we've got a hard disk drive which fits into a bracket. Let's just have a look at the SSD, the 2.5 inch first of all, because you actually need D and E. Actually, E is the rubber, and then D is this little screw here with the extra bit on. Yeah, so this one's got a little bit of depth in it there, so that it fits through the rubbers okay. So this is how it fits on, sort of. So you're going to have the screw and then the rubber and then the actual SSD. So the SSD will sit on the case and then the rubber and the screw will be on the opposite side, because they sort of slide into the case in here. See, they've got a bigger hole here and then it slides into a smaller hole, so you can't do it this way, you know, you can't force it through because the rubber's too big, but it sort of goes in like that and then slides across. See, this is upside down, it'll be the opposite way because you've got the wires that will be coming through here. So if I was mounting it on the back, it would fit in this way. So that the wires could come through and then attach to this end. So you can either mount them to the back or you can mount them to the front. Depends how you want to display them, because if you've got like a nice case like this, it's not going to look too bad from the front, you know, when you're looking through the window. Entirely up to you. Right, so with the hard disk drive then, so you've got holes here, which then mount to, there's only 4 holes on here that it can mount to. But what you've got to think is this is a bit that screws into the case. So it's going to be this way where it screws into the case. So you've got to get it into the correct holes where it's going to be screwed into the case, and then these are going to be accessible, because if you use the other holes, they ain't going to be accessible, are they? So if you use it this way, and then what you've got to think about is it the right way around? Because if this is at the back of the case, you're not going to be able to fit the leads in. So it's going to be this way, I believe. And if not, I'm going to have to redo it. But these are the smallest of the screws to hold it nice and tight. There's no rubbers for this one. Would have liked that, but there isn't any. Right, so I'm just going to screw this down. So fingers crossed I've got it the right way around. So what happens is there's 2 little feet here that fit into these little grooves here, and then the screw obviously screws into here. But I'm just a bit ominous about this bit here. This is a screw that's sticking out from the back of the motherboard. So what I'm going to do, I don't recommend you do this, but this is what I'm going to do. So I've got 8 of these. For the time being, I'm just going to slip that over, because I know it's not, the depth isn't going all the way through the rubber. What I'm going to do is let it rest on there, and then what I do is fit that in, and then I think there's ample gap there, but just as a precaution, that's what I'm going to do. And then just screw that in to secure it. Make sure the screws for the bracket to the hard disk drive is nice and tight, and then this one needs to be quite tight, nice and snug, because this is the drive that does move, because it's got moving parts, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of clearance here, but maybe just enough with the window. And now we just got to wire it up. With the SATA cables, this little metal clip faces us, so it faces outwards, and with the motherboard itself, it just slides into these little sockets here on the bottom right hand side of the motherboard, which you've seen in the previous video, and they just simply slide in just like that. Nice and easy, nice little click. And if you want to take them out, just pinch the little clip that's sticking out down, and then just take it out. Right, so for the hard disk drive then, there's 2 ports that we need to occupy. There's the data port and also the power as well. And you can see on these ports they have got like an L shape to them. So the actual fitments for the data, first of all, you can see it is an L shape, so it will only go in one way, and then you just got to match it up. So the L shape is that way, and as you put it in, it's a nice satisfactory click. So I'm just going to take that out, and the way that you take them out is you just press this clip down, take it out, and then we just need to source one of the power leads, and the power leads, you can see that's an L shape as well, so that'll only go in one way. So the formation for that is this way. And make sure it's in nice and firm. There we are. It's a lot easier to wire this out of the case, isn't it? So I'm just going to connect this up and then see how best these wires work for me, and tidiness as well. So I'm going to tidy these up a lot more and then come back to you with a finished article. Right, so in the end that didn't turn out too badly. So it's nice, all nice and secure, and I've left these sticking up because obviously there's a lot of room here. You know, there's a lot of depth in this case, the back of the case, there'd have to be to house a hard drive at the back. You don't normally get this with cases, so that's one of the things you need to take into consideration when you're purchasing. Because it's a solid side, you're not going to see all of these wires, but it's nice just to keep these wires away from the back of the motherboard, because obviously with this CPU, this is where it does get hot. But I've only secured it flimsily there because I know there's not enough length on there for it to sort of like come down to the motherboard itself. But then if I do need to change anything, I can easily undo it. This one's a bit more secure, and this one is definitely more secure here because it's bunched up with all these wires. And as I say, I've left these sticking out because I want to know what they are, because if I come to open this up, say in a couple of years time, I might not actually know or remember that there's power cables here that I can use to add some more SSDs if that's what I want to do. So yeah, quite happy with this side. Let's flip it over and have a look at the other side. There you go, bang tidy. Well, it's as tidy as you can be, really, to be honest. And you can see here with some of the wires, you see the HD cable for the front headers, which is down this side. You can see, because it's multicoloured wires, it sticks out a little bit when light shine on it, but obviously when the window is on, you're not really going to see that. And some of the issues that you're going to have, which is why you should look at your power supply and which one you want to get, the 3 different types, because this is all connected to the power supply itself, i.e. non-modular. You're going to have all of these wires that you need to do something with, and you need to tuck them out of the way. So yeah, that's the best I can do with that, is sort of like tuck it into the bottom right hand corner, and then when I've got the window on, I'm not really going to see them, so it's not that bad. Right, let's get these side panels on. So there we are then, all built. Didn't turn out too bad in the end, to be honest. Pretty decent for a cheap case. And there's only one thing left to do. Don't you just love that? My name is Cal. Have a good morning, afternoon or good evening. Farewell till next time. And I will see you later. Thanks for watching.